Welcome to my tutorial on how to perform polynomial regressions. My name is Frederick Voss, and when you have any questions, you can also always email me or call me. Today I want to test the following model. I want to see how buyer trust and supplier trust have both an influence on perception differences of a buyer. And in this model, the two independent variables are called x and y, and the dependent variable is called z. And in order to perform or to see whether a polynomial regression is even practicable, first we need to analyze whether we have enough discrepancy in our data. And for this, we do the following steps, as we see in this PowerPoint. We first have to create standardized values from our independent x and y, which means from buyer trust and supplier trust. An important note here is that here I already calculated the constructs. So when you have a questionnaire, which for example measures with 4 different questions buyer trust and with 4 different questions supplier trust, then you have to make the mean out of them. So this is like the mean of the questions of buyer trust and the mean of the questions of supplier trust and the mean of the perception difference. And then I begin with standardizing the independent variables. Then I calculate the difference score between the Z scores, and then I will put them into 3 different groups, which are below 0.5, between 0.49, minus 0.49 and 0.49, and in the end to plus 0.5. And in the end, we want to get such a little graphic here, when we also have the summary statistics, that we want to see whether all these groups have more than at least 10% in each, so that we have some discrepancy in the data between the different levels of independent variables, so that we know it makes sense to do a polynomial regression. And this is the first step we need to do when we perform polynomial regression. So we follow these steps. First, we create standardized values. So for this, I would go to SPSS. See, it's this one. And here we would go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Descriptives. And here we see on the bottom left this little sign that says Save Standardized Values as Variables. And this is something we say yes, because then SPSS will automatically save the so-called Z scores in the program. Here right now you see I put all the questions already in the questionnaire, and to change it to my variable names, I press like the right mouse button, and then I choose Display Variable Names. And here I can see how I called them. The buy is for the buyer, which have no buy in front of it are for the supplier. I said already I calculated the constructs, so I go here to the bottom where I search for supplier trust. This is my supplier trust variable, so I put it on the right, and then I search for the buyer trust. That is this one. Actually, yes, these two. That's my X and my Y. And then I just have to press OK. Then I get also an output, but that's for the moment not important. Because I go back now, that is then step 2, what we can see here. So we have the standardized values. We can find them now at the end of our SPSS file. And now we have to calculate the difference between ZX and ZY. So let's take a look. Let's go back to the file. Here we can also see when we go from all to the right, when we look at the data, we have a Z supplier trust and a Z buyer trust. These are the so-called Z scores. And step 2 says we have to take different scores. So we take, so first I have to call this variable. So I went to, as you saw, to, I'll show it again better, transform and compute variables. Then I say Z trust, and then by supply, so more or less that I know, okay, I took the supply from the buyer. Important here that you don't have any spaces, and when you have spaces between different subtractions, that you don't have spaces, and you just when you want to have spaces, you make this little dash on the ground. So this is something I call Z trust, and so I go to the bottom of it. Here you can see again, I cannot read it, so I say again display variable names. I go to the bottom, and then I take the Z trust buyer, and then I say minus Z trust supplier. Then okay. Then also here it says to me, yes, it's computed. I can also find it here again. And then in the next step, so you see here Z trust by supplier, that is like the difference. And then I actually I should have called it Z diff as I see it here now. And now I need to make 3 groups, one below 0.5, one between 0.5, minus 0.5 and plus 0.5, and one above 0.5. That's what we do now. I go again to transform. Here I have to recode into different variables, or you can recode in the same variable, but I don't recommend it, because then you, when you make a mistake, you cannot review where you made the mistake. So you go here, recode into different variables. Then you have again all these variables. Right click, display variable names. Okay. Let's say which one do I want to group. I scroll down. Then I take the Z, this difference score. Then I have to give it a name again, which is I call it now diff groups. And you have to click on change, that actually accepts it. So here it changed. Now it says, okay, this will go to diff groups. And I say old and new values. And then I have to specify a range. Here I can then choose this one. First I click on what is the lowest to this value, and this would be up, because we said it's below 0.5, so we would have minus 0.5. So that one would be 0. That's what we call group 0. Then we have the range minus 0.49 and up to 0.49 plus. That would be then the second group, so, but we call this number 1. And then finally we have everything above 0.5 is group number 2. We edit, then we say continue. We click OK, because we have already named the groups. Everything is okay. Then SPSS will do it again, so it will show us in the output, yes, I calculated. And then the thing which we do in the end, because here we have now the groups in the file, and then we want to analyze it. We want to see the frequencies and whether we have good frequencies. So then we scroll fully down. We say different groups. We go to the right. We don't need anything else, because it also already says display frequency tables. You press OK, and then you can see how the groups are divided. And here, very nice how it's more or less perfect, because we subtracted the supplier trust from the buyer trust, which means in this, the supplier trust was lower than the buyer trust. So that are 36%. This is like the middle group, which are like almost equal. And then we have the extreme group, in which, or the other extreme, where the buyer trusts the supplier more. So that is like the which is plus 0.5 of the difference of the Z-score, and that is 32%. So that's a little bit more like how we really want to have it. And this concludes our first step. which I also said here, we want to have a nice division of the groups, so with that we have a group which is above, where we have a lot of people who, in this case, that the supplier overtrusts, that there's also a lot of agreement, and that the buyer overtrusts. And this is the first step. So in this case, I would say, okay, it is worth, because we have more than 10% discrepancy, to analyze the data. And in the next video, I will show you how then to perform the polynomial regression. Thank you very much.